Live from parts unknown, you're listening to Simon Miller's Pro Wrestling Podcast, the only wrestling podcast on the planet, we think. Sit back, relax, prepare for positivity to run through your veins as Simon Miller gives you your weekly dose of powerful pro wrestling audio. It is Miller Time.
Hello and welcome to Simon Miller's Pro Wrestling Podcast. My name is Simon Miller and this is a pro wrestling podcast. Now, amazingly, thanks to just technology in the world we live in 2018, as you're hearing these words and you're hearing my voice, I'm actually in Chicago at StarCast, and you can all hate me because of that. I hate me too, so don't worry about it. But of course, I've recorded this before I went away because I wanted to make sure that I got my weekly dose of podcasts out. That's what I said I was going to do. And I don't want to let myself down. I don't want to let anybody else down. And as you know, on Fridays, we do dip into the thing that makes all of this possible, and that is patreon.com/Simon316. And I like to get a patron on, and I just like to talk to them about wrestling because A, I appreciate anybody that supports me, and also I just think it's a lot of fun. You get a completely different aspect and viewpoint on professional wrestling that maybe not even, I've seen, and I just like, no one else is doing it, and I like to be different. So today, I'm all the way from Australia, and as far as I'm aware, it's like 4 a.m. It is my man, Uday, who's absolutely smashing it. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How about you? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, dude. Like I said, I am in awe of the time that you have gotten up. But I respect it, man.
Anything for the podcast, man. Anything for the podcast.
Hell yeah, man. That's the attitude. That's the attitude I like to have.
Yeah.
Now, Uday, we had a little chat before you came on. As I always like to do with everybody, just set the ground, catch up, and do all of these things. And you said something that to me was like Goldust. Now, you didn't think it was like Goldust. I think it was like Goldust because you said that you're relatively young, and therefore you don't have the nostalgia that a lot of people that come on the podcast do. So straight away, my question for you, because you're going to have a much more, I'm not going to say interesting take, but certainly a fascinating take on professional wrestling, because you're getting into wrestling. I mean, how long have you been watching wrestling? Let's start there, and then we can shift into something else.
Right, yeah. So the first time I ever watched wrestling, I didn't even know what I was watching. So I was like just flipping through the channels, right? And I overcame, I think it was ECW, and it was like WWE's ECW. So that was like back in 2005 or 6, and I was like 7 or 8 years old. Not even that, I think. So, yeah, and I had no idea what I was watching. And the funny thing is, so the first time I ever switched on anything of WWE programming, you remember Kelly Used to have those, like little, back in the day on ECW? Yeah. And that was like, because like I was only like 7 or 8 years old, man. Like that was like something just straight out of like a science fiction film for me. I was like, what the hell is this, man? What? Like, I need to get in on this. But, so yeah, I mean, that was like my introduction to WWE, but that wasn't the reason that wasn't the reason why I continued watching it. But, like, that was my first interaction with it. And so, like, I asked a friend about it at school after I watched it the first time. And he told me, like, he told me what it actually is. It's a wrestling show. It happens every week and blah, blah, blah. And so, that's where I started off from. So that was, like, back in 2006, I think.
See, that's fascinating because, again, straight away, but it is because, people like me, old men, our first introduction to ECW was ECW. And as we know, a big controversial thing about WWE's version of ECW is that it just wasn't as good as people wanted it to be, right? They weren't impressed with it. Simple as that. So you come to, what do you think of ECW? You don't know where it comes from. Like, so what's your kind of take on all of that?
Well, I mean, initially, till from the time I started watching it till the time it lasted, like I was okay with it. I used to watch Raw and SmackDown much more because ECW, like even for me at that age, it started getting really, really boring, and I didn't like it. But yeah, I mean, like now, of course, I know the difference between the real ECW and WWE's version of it. So like, I can really understand why people didn't like WWE's version of it. But yeah, I mean, it was okay for me for a while, but even I stopped watching it. Like even before I was 10 years old, like it was just pathetic, man. It was bad.
Well, it's not great. It's just not ECW, is it? It's just
it's not. No.
I didn't know what it was. So you're watching Raw and SmackDown. You find out what wrestling is, and then why do you why hang around with it? Why not just go, well, this is weird, men in pants rolling around, I'm going to leave.
Well, the thing was, it was weird, but that's what was so fascinating about it, because I hadn't seen anything like it before. Like you see movies, you see TV shows, but there's like, can you really name me any other form of entertainment which can make you believe that, there's a guy, I'm talking about The Undertaker, by the way. There's a guy who's been dead, he's been buried alive, he's come back, and he has like a half demon brother who killed his parents. Like, I mean, and as a child, you believe all that. You really do believe all that. Like, it's real. And like, it was just so weird, and it was so fascinating. You had all these characters and all these gimmicks, men flopping around, doing weird shit. And it was just so cool. And so, yeah, but even after like 2006, up until about a couple of years, like maybe till 2008, I used to watch it like, I didn't watch it all like every week in and week out. I used to watch it like, every other week or so. But what really caught my attention was in 2008. So I always used to watch like the part from Royal Rumble to Mania, so like the January-March part.
Yeah.
Like, I used to watch it every single time, like without fail. I used to be, like right there sitting on the television ready for it. And so I remember back in 2008, in January, I think it was, when I had no context of the feud and why happened what happened. But do you remember when Jeff Hardy climbed up the Titantron and like did a 40 feet swanton bomb on Randy Orton?
I certainly do, my friend.
Oh yeah, absolutely
and nuts.
It was crazy, and that was it. And like that sealed. Like, I have been watching wrestling pretty much ever since. That was it. Did it for me.
So was it that kind of crazy stunt, I guess, that kind of, crazy that made you go, yeah, this is it?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, like, I hadn't seen anything like it before. Like, even in movies, it's stuntmen doing this shit, but it was just unreal, man. It was unreal.
I think that's it. I think that's a fair point as well, because like you said, where else can you kind of see this stuff?
Yeah.
And I think that's, yeah, I mean, that kind of sums up. I mean, I think we forget, especially because we watch it so much, we forget just how...
how unique it is.
It is unique. And that's why sometimes... I mean, we're going off track here, but that's the whole point of this. But that's why when you hear people say, like, oh, this was too serious, or not too serious, this was too silly, or... we shouldn't have done this. That's why I always disagree with that, because I'm like, no, we can do that because it's professional wrestling and it's ridiculous. And as soon as we stop doing that, you've kind of killed exactly what pro wrestling is meant to be.
Exactly. I mean, this week, like today, yesterday's SmackDown, right? The opening thing with the New Day and Booker T. I mean, you can't find that shit anywhere else, man. Like,
that really was
just
weird.
So good.
It was so weird.
It was weird, but I mean, it was still fun though.
Oh, I loved it. Oh, absolutely, man. I loved it. Like, as soon as it started, I thought, well, that was amazing, because it didn't tie into anything. It meant nothing. Like, it didn't. It's not like it. It had any kind of effect on the show. It was just done to be really, 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 really weird. And I was like, you know what? I got no problem with that whatsoever. I actually thought it was hilarious. So
yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and you're right. You don't get that. You just don't get that in any. Yeah, in any other walk of life. And that's why sometimes I think we do take wrestling a little bit too seriously, because we can have fun with it. And yeah, if you don't, you've made a mistake.
Definitely.
So was it that you mentioned The Undertaker? Was that the guy that kind of, won you over?
No, it was Jeff Hardy.
It was Jeff Hardy with his big swan-time bomb.
Yeah. And not just, like his high-flying moves and all that, but even like his just, his... like, he was just so weird, like, for me, like, watching as a 9-10-year-old, it was just so weird to see a guy with, like, face paint all over, like, dancing, flailing his arms about, and, jumping off of stuff. And there was something about it that just connected with me. I don't know why. But yeah, I mean, Jeff Hardy was the guy who really, got me, wrestling properly.
So how do you feel about it now? Because obviously not only is he back, but given the story you just told, he's going to have a Hell in a Cell match with Randy Orton. So, yeah, like, how is that?
I'm actually really surprised by how well the feud is turning out. Like, it's a non-title mid-card feud, but it's still pretty. I mean, like, I'm invested in it, and not just because like I'm a Jeff Hardy fan, but like I'm still interested in it, really interested in it, especially like with Randy Orton going heel finally, like, and I'm really interested in it. And I think today's segment was a bit weird. Like, it was, I don't know how to feel about it, but overall, I'm really excited about it. So I really can't wait for the match.
Today's segment is one of the weirdest things I've seen in a long time. Like, it was, look, I don't mind weird, man. I'm all for weird. But what, I mean, Randy Orton was talking about he's going to steal Jeff's identity, And then Jeff was telling me something about how the chemistry in his brain has changed. I mean, it was really flipping weird. I didn't know what was going on. I'm not saying that I hated it, but I am saying that it was absolutely bizarre.
Yeah. I mean, WWE sometimes, like, bizarre is good, but I mean, like, you need to do bizarre right, you know, like, I don't know, yeah.
No, I agree. But I don't mind that feud. I was thinking about it. I like it because, like you said, it's been a long time since we've seen those two tangle. Jeff Hardy's always wanted to be in the Hell in the Cell, so that was kind of nice. Sort of the little...
But I'm afraid, and I'm really afraid. I think he's going to end up killing himself, man. I think he's going to jump off the top of the hell, man.
Well, this is what I wanted to talk to you about, right? Because, right, now, but here's the thing, right? Here's the interesting conversation when it comes to this. If I had asked you 10 years ago, did you want to see Jeff Hardy throw himself off the Hell in the Cell, you would have said, absolutely, right? Because I would have done. As a kid, I'd be like, I want him to kill himself. Not literally, but that's what I would have said. However, now, we're old men, right? Well, no, I'm much older than you, but we're older men. You're still a young pup. But now I'm like, don't hurt yourself, Jeff Hardy. There is no point. Nobody needs to see that. Yeah. Everybody loves you, Jeff. We're all your friends and family.
Exactly.
But but then what does he do? I've always liked Jeff Hardy, but I've never been a Jeff Hardy guy. Like, I know to a lot of people, he really there's just a connection there. So as a Jeff Hardy fan who knows that Jeff Hardy is going into his first Hell in a Cell match, what do you want to see him do? Like, how does he tick the boxes that he feels needs to do without letting you down as a fan?
He can't let me down, man. I really don't think he has anything to prove to anybody. I mean, like, he's done everything he has to do. Like, he's been doing this since, like, the mid-90s, man. I really can't believe he's going on longer than Matt has. Like, I mean, like, who would have thought that Matt Hardy would probably finish his career before Jeff? Like, that wouldn't happen.
That is bizarre, right? The guy that kind of took less risk. I mean, still risk. Let's not pretend otherwise. But certainly less risk is the one that's probably going to have to retire first. Yeah. I mean, that is ridiculous.
As far as, like, ticking boxes, of course, I'm really excited to see what, he can do. Well, I mean, of course, it would really be a spectacle if he could do a swanton off the Cell and, I don't know, like, maybe over the announcers table. I don't know. Like, that would be really, really cool to see. But, like, I'm just, at this point, I'm like, okay, like, it's his decision. Yeah, I just don't want him to hurt himself, Do
you think he will, though?
I think he will. Yeah, I think he will. It's just, I think he will. Yeah. He's probably going to get a ladder and put it on top of the Cell and then jump off. Yeah.
Of course he is. Right, so, given that when you started to watching wrestling to now, obviously there's a big hole in your well, no, it's not a hole, but obviously, as a wrestling fan, you can't get away from the Attitude Era. It's impossible. Have you gone back and watched that, or do you just know about it through the stories? And if you did go back and watch it, do you feel like, I missed out on this great time period? Because my big thing with the Attitude Era, and every time I say this, somebody gets mad, but that's cool. It's not as good as we remember. Like, it was brilliant. Everything with The Rock, Stone Cold, Steve Austin, and Vince McMahon is incredible. But outside of that, you either get some very good segments or you get some absolutely shit segments. I mean, really, really bad stuff. So, did you go back and watch it? Because I imagine you're going to have a very different perspective going back as opposed to people that lived it, so to speak.
I did go back and watch it. I haven't watched like every single episode of it, but I've pretty much watched every single pay-per-view which happened during that period, and like a lot of episodes and a lot of segments and like just clips of on YouTube. But I have watched like a ton of it, and I mean of course as a wrestling fan, I always want more good wrestling, and of course I would have loved to be like enjoy that era, like when it's actually happening. I would have loved that. But I mean, it's kind of weird because that era is like thought of as the golden era of WWE, and maybe it was certainly in terms of like ratings and money and stuff like that. But I mean, like there's so much stuff which is just so weird nowadays, like especially when you see it from current day's perspective, and why would they even do that? Like, how did they even get away with that? It's really weird. But at the same time, as you said, The Rock, the Stone Cold, and all that stuff, that was absolutely amazing. I love it. Like, I watched pretty much every single WWE clip there is on YouTube about The Rock. Like, I love him, man. He's so good. He's so good. He's so good.
Do you watch his films?
I mean, I've watched a lot of his films, but It depends. I mean, I have to be interested in the story. I watched a lot of his films. Yeah, but I mean, like, I wouldn't just watch any film just because he's in it, if that makes sense. You know, like.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, like I haven't watched what's the one which came out, Rampage, or I don't know, one of the two. I don't know which one came out this year.
Dude, there's so many Rock films come out. It's impossible to keep up with it. Like, it's ridiculous.
But I mean, I have watched a lot of his films. Yeah.
But I'm just interested because, like, The Rock is. The thing I find fascinating about The Rock now, and obviously, you don't fall into this category, but a lot of people just know The Rock as a film star. And then they find out that he's he was a wrestler, and they're like, what? And it's like, that's right. I mean, that's the crazy thing to me.
I mean, that's what happened with my parents. I mean, like, they only knew him as a film star, and like when they found out that he used to be a wrestler, I mean, like, they were like, they couldn't even believe it, I mean, it's happened to a lot of people, yeah.
No, I can see why as well, because he has. It's so easy as wrestling fans to forget how much he's actually transcended. I mean, he is the biggest. He is the biggest wrestling star ever, as far as I'm concerned, in the sense of what he's been able to do.
Yeah, and not just the biggest wrestling star. I mean, like, in my opinion, he's probably just the biggest star in general. Like, I really haven't seen anyone with like as much global popularity.
No, absolutely not. No, he's the man. Yeah. Like, not Hulk Hogan, not Stone Cold Steve Austin. In terms of relevancy and just where he is now, The Rock is number one. There's no two ways about him, which is nuts. Which is absolutely nuts. Right? Okay, so have you had a break from wrestling since you started watching it, or have you started watching it since you were 9 and you just hung all the way through?
Right now, I did have a break from wrestling, of course, man. Everyone does.
Everyone does.
Yeah. So as I said, when I really started watching WWE properly, week in and week out, that was in like January 2008, and I continued watching it till 2009 when the CM Punk and Jeff Hardy feud was happening, right? And Jeff Hardy he quit WWE or something, there was this one match where whoever loses their career is ending or something like that. It was after SummerSlam in 2009. Do you remember that?
I remember. I remember. Yeah.
It was a steel cage match in the SmackDown after SummerSlam, and I mean, that really affected me because, I despised CM Punk. Like, I hated him from like deep down in my heart. Like, I just wanted to kill him. Especially the next day after Jeff Hardy went away. Like, he came, like Jeff's music started playing, and he came out painted as Jeff. I actually thought for a second that it was Jeff. And I'm so happy. I was so happy. I was actually like crying, tears of joy. And when I saw him, it was just like too much emotional stress for me. I just couldn't deal with it anymore.
So that was it. That was the end. That's when you went no more.
Yeah, but that was more because I was just too invested in Jeff Hardy, I think. But what's funny is the reason I started watching WWE back was also CM Punk, and that was in 2011 with the pipe bomb.
So wait. So CM Punk being a bad guy made you stop watching it, and then CM Punk being like the ultimate sort of segue between fans and sort of management is what got you back.
Yeah.
That is a brilliant story. See, and there you were thinking you were too young. That's a great story, man, because that, again, we can keep touching on these things, but that underlines just how important CM Punk was. And again, it's something you can forget about now because there's so much controversy around CM Punk. I get it. It's almost impossible to have a conversation without all this other stuff, coming up, and maybe even in a slight way, reducing his legacy such a touch. But as you have just proven, when he did that, he had the power. Even though he was the guy that made you stop wrestling because you were so mad, he was the guy that got you to come back and say, wow, what's he doing? This is different. This is new. This feels real. I mean, that's fascinating. And now, here we are, 5 years on, whatever it is, and he's doing what he's doing in MMA. It wasn't the best, but it goes to show, man.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, the realness of it, just the realness of what he was saying, it just felt so real, because even when I stopped watching WWE, I still used to, catch up on the main events, like WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, and stuff like that. And I somewhat used to, stay, just see what's happening online, but I wasn't, I didn't watch Raw and SmackDown. I didn't watch that. But, when CM Punk did that, and my friends were going crazy about it, and I just watched it, just for the sake of it, and, after that, I was hooked back again, There was just something so real about it, and just, you could really tell that, it felt that it wasn't scripted, and he was just saying it from his heart,
So what did
it was just so cool.
What did you think about all of that? Because I know a lot of people that they came back for CM Punk, but then they left because they thought the booking of it was so bad with Kevin Nash and Alberto Del Rio that they were like, well, that's just that. I kind of feel like I've come back to a product that I thought was going to be fresh, and instead what they've done is they've just given me the same thing that they always have, and that's not what I wanted to see.
Yeah, but the thing is, for me, I'd only properly watched wrestling for like a year and a half before I stopped watching it. So it's not like, I had a lot of like memories of it or like a lot of anything to compare it to previously. And at the time I knew about, the Attitude Era and stuff like that, but I didn't know like what actually went on and the stories and stuff like that. So I didn't have a lot of anything to compare it to as such. And I watched wrestling from the Pipe Bomb. I started watching it again from the Pipe Bomb till the time he got released in 2014. And his booking was pretty bad. But at the same time, like there was so much, for me at least, there was a lot of stuff going on that I was still interested in. Like I can't remember exactly, but the Nexus stuff, that was really cool. I loved it. Even though what happened afterwards was pretty bad, but at least it was interesting initially. And just a lot of stuff. Like there was for me, I didn't have a lot of wrestling watching. Like I hadn't watched a lot of wrestling, so I was just excited to see a lot of stuff again. Whether it's bad or good, I really didn't care at the time. I just wanted to watch wrestling.
Yeah, no, I can understand. Going back to because I'm intrigued as well. Given that you came to this, what the hell did you think when a guy called Kevin Nash turns up? Are you like, who the hell is this guy? Because I guess WCW was just, I don't know. What was your take on WCW?
I've of course never watched WCW. I've gone on the network and seen a few just bits here and there on the network, but other than that I have no idea absolutely about. I have an idea of what WCW was now, but I never knew about it, never even heard of it back then. But I had heard of Kevin Nash and people like that, and for me it was just okay, that was a thing. It isn't a thing. It was never a thing for me, so I just didn't really care about it as such.
See, I think in that sense, that's why I think WWE kind of went really wrong with all of that, because you were the guy that they brought back. You're the guy, one of the people that you managed to get fascinated, and the way they booked it is by having some random dude basically turn up and be like, and you'd be like, who the hell is that guy? So that's kind of. I think that was the problem, because on one end I didn't hate all that stuff. I just didn't. I was like, okay, if that's what we're gonna do, all right. But at least I had context. I had what? I can't even think. 20 years of Kevin Nash, or 15, whatever it's been. But and I just think that's a real shame. I think given how important it was, in terms of for people like yourself.
Yeah, they shouldn't have handled it that way. So I'd heard of Kevin Nash before, but that was it. I'd only heard of him, and when he turned up, that was the first time I actually ever saw his face. So it was
yeah, of course, as it would be. Yeah, you got no reason to care about this guy.
Yeah.
So what about today? Moving forward, what is your kind of wrestling approach today? WWE? Do you watch Indies? Do you watch New Japan? we're gonna have to talk about All In at some point. Are you excited about that? Where do you kind of lay your hat at the moment?
Right, so I've always been pretty much a WWE guy, mainly because we didn't have any no indie shows or New Japan Pro Wrestling. They didn't used to air in India, we only had WWE. That was WWE is pretty much has a monopoly in India in terms of wrestling. And about a year ago, I think I started getting into the when Jeff Hardy went to TNA, I started watching TNA just for the sake of him. But I didn't watch it regularly. But I still got a lot of knowledge about the people who were there, about the wrestlers. So now I have a lot of context, and I know who AJ Styles is. I know who Samoa Joe is. I know who Bobby Roode is from the TNA days, and I can enjoy them much more. And as far as right now, I don't really watch a lot of indie stuff, but I am very, very excited about All In, and I am going to watch it just because it's I know what it what it really does stand for, as in as you keep on saying it's like the WrestleMania of the Indies, and I really do believe that, and I understand why it's so important, and I'm really going to watch it. I'm really excited about it.
Is that going to be your first time you've seen certain wrestlers on there, or are you kind of up to date with everybody that they've got?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty familiar with Cody Rhodes from his WWE days. I'm familiar with a couple of others, but for the most part, I have no idea who the people are.
And again, that's why it's so important, you see, because if they do well, that's it. You're going to be in.
Yeah.
And this is it's a terrible in. I didn't mean like that, but that's why I believe it to be such a big deal for that exact reason. Like,
I agree.
It's in their hands and I'm sure that's the idea, but you just never know. If they can do that, they're going to open up this incredible world to all these people that don't know it.
Yeah, and I'm almost 100% sure that if the show is really, really good, I'm gonna start watching indies. I'm gonna start watching Ring of Honor and stuff like that, and NJPW and any other stuff. I'm gonna start watching it. Yeah.
I think it's going to be good. I mean, we'll focus on WWE because you said you're going to be, you're going to be a WWE guy. And again, I am going out to All In. I'm very lucky. And so on next week's episode of the podcast, we'll certainly talk about all of that, and I'll run you down all of my stories as best as I can. So we just got in the back of SummerSlam. You're obviously, actually, the first thing I want to talk about as well, because this is, it's quite pertinent to what happened last year in WWE. What did you think about when WWE kind of pulled their socks up and said, right, we're going to try and make this expansion into India? And then now they're like, meh, they just gave up on it like a year later.
You know what? Yeah. I'm actually happy that they stopped trying. The reason being, I don't like Jinder Mahal.
You have to, Uday. They told me that. They told me that you have to like them. WWE banged that drum for 6 months. Honestly, that was so preposterous at the time. Like, it doesn't surprise me at all.
Because the thing is, WWE is really, really, really popular in India. A lot of people watch it. And for the most part, most people who do watch it, they're casual viewers. They don't really care about, if this wrestler deserves something, this wrestler doesn't. They don't really care about that stuff. They just want, just entertainment. That's it. And, but for people like me who've, watched wrestling, who know about wrestling, and we didn't really care for Jinder Mahal. I honestly couldn't care less about him. I mean, his push, it was just, it was just out of the blue. I mean, why would you even do that, man? And then have Shinsuke Nakamura lose to him. I mean, come on. It's just preposterous. And then,
preposterous is the best word.
Yeah. And then have him winning again at WrestleMania by pinning Rusev. I mean, why? Why do you hate us, man? We don't want Jinder, man. If I'm being honest, the great Kali, he's much more popular and well liked in India than Jinder is, because he's actually from India.
Yeah,
the great Kali.
And the great Kali. Yeah, that's the other thing. Jinder Mahal is Canadian. But I mean, the great Kali is he's like a super duper star, right? He's like a proper celebrity in India.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean. A lot of people know about it, even though they don't watch wrestling. But yeah, people know about him. Yeah,
that's crazy. So I mean, I don't know how to put this, but I'm looking at it from WWE's point of view, and I admit their point of view was ridiculous. Yeah. But should they have really, if they wanted to expand into India, just have gone into India? Much like they are. I mean, look, the whole Saudi Arabia thing that brings its own controversies, but they're not trying to push anybody. They're just going into Saudi Arabia. Do you think that would have been a better thing, just to gone, hey, we're going to do more shows here, as opposed to what was really? I mean, it was a bit on the nose, wasn't it? I think it was a bit uncomfortable all around.
Yeah. I mean, it was just pretty fairly obvious what they were even trying to do. If his push would have been more gradual, maybe it would have worked. But it was just so out of nowhere that anyone could see what they were trying to do. And yeah, I mean, I really do believe that if they'd had a couple of shows, and they did have a show in India last year, I think, in December. But I mean, nowhere near the level of what happened in Saudi Arabia. But I mean, if if they had a show like the Super Showdown in Australia that they're gonna have, if they had a couple of those in India, that would have really, really done well for them. Yeah, they would have definitely benefited from that much more than they have, and if they have, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just intrigued. I didn't actually think about that until you mentioned it. I was like, oh yeah, that was a thing. So basically, modern day WWE, why are you still watching? why he's still invested. Because for me, I mean, I'm very blessed in the fact that I do it, I do it as part of my job. But even if I didn't, I know I'd still be watching now because, again, it's one of the reasons I get patrons. Also, I love the community. Well, I love some of the community around it, but some of it is mental, but it's fine. But I love them. I love the community around it. I love talking about it, and I love the backstage stuff. Like I do. I like the wrestling industry and the way it works and the way that, you naturally get organic stories being created behind the scenes that are actually really fun to, to see out. So, you're 19 years old. You're a young dude, like, and, you're in different countries. As we talked about, you've moved to Australia, you're doing your degrees and all this kind of stuff. And yet, for some reason, wrestling keeps drawing you back in. Now, what is it? And I'm hoping you say you love Roman Reigns, because then we can have a wonderful chat.
Oh, God. No. I mean, see, the thing with Roman, I mean, like, if you really want to get into that, I don't know, like it's kind of like beating the same old drum again. But, like, I mean, I don't hate him. I don't, like, it's not like I hate watching him. But, I mean, like, he's like, it's just too much of him, like, especially, like, I mean, he's main evented 4 WrestleManias in a row, man. Like, come on. Give us something different. Give us something new. Like, the thing, like, at some point, it's just too much.
Yeah, that's it. The thing that blows my mind about that is that's like, who else did that? We're talking about Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Like, that is just, I say this, and I'm probably wrong, but I don't even think Stone Cold Steve Austin never went 4 in a row, did he? I don't think Stone Cold Stone Cold wasn't around long enough to go 4 in a row.
Yeah.
But The Rock never went 4 in a row. And so for Roman Reigns, a guy that is controversial at best, to go 4 in a row, I tell you the problem I have with that. Like, I don't mind. I've said this 1,000 times. I don't mind Roman Reigns. The problem he has is that, he's not being, WWE and the fans have this kind of standoff. But that's my problem I have with it, is that he gets put in positions that other people haven't just because. And I don't, that's what I don't understand. And you kind of start to worry, is it actually... making other people suffer? Is he actually getting in the way? Which, again, ties into this week's programming, when Braun Strowman has been turned heel to once again try and protect Roman Reigns. Now, it may work. I don't know until it happens. And it's very unlikely, but it may work. But it's still a fascinating time to be a wrestling fan. And I do know a lot of people. My friend Brett, some people know about my friend Brett Fitz. He still watches, but I know he struggles with Roman Reigns because he gets sick of it. He gets sick of seeing it. So, I mean, we'll focus on Roman a little bit, but what is it that makes you keep coming back? Or is it just habit?
It is habit a little bit, but I mean, like, first of all, the wrestling talent now, like, for the last few years, I would say, compared to, like, when I was watching it, it's much better. Like, like, you didn't have, like, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Nakamura, AJ Styles, like, in the mid-2000s. Like, there was nobody there. Like, and a lot of people were coming to the end of their careers, people like Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Edge, Undertaker, and so... there wasn't, like, really, like in my opinion, right now, the wrestling talent is much, much better than it was back then.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the best ever.
Yeah. So, I mean, just the sheer quality of wrestling, I really enjoyed, and also the women's division. I understand, like, they keep on going about it, and, like, but if you actually take back and, like, take a step back and look at it, it really has come a long way. Like, it really has. And it's still not where it should be, but, like, I'm still very interested. Like, I'm much more interested in it than I ever was before. And aside from that, I just love wrestling, man. Like, it's just, like, it brings out the child in me. I still get, so giggly and, like, just so happy about everything. Like, when what's his name, Finn Balor came out as a demon and at SummerSlam, I was just like, I went fucking insane, man. I'm sorry to swear, but I went absolutely batshit crazy. Like, I was just like, ah!
But I like that, man. Like, I don't think we get enough of that anymore. I don't think people allow themselves to get invested these days, which sucks because that's why wrestling is so good. Like, the story I always tell is when I was watching SummerSlam 98, I was a young kid, sure, but Stone Cold Steve Austin beat The Undertaker and I jumped out of my seat. I was so happy. Yeah. And that's what makes wrestling fun.
Yeah, it is, man. And, like, I mean, like, there's just something about it which I really like, and I just keep coming back to it. And I mean, there's always, like, a few downs here and there, but I mean, there's like, it's okay. I mean, it's worth it. Like for example, this week's Raw. I mean, like, for the most part, the show wasn't really good. Like, it was average at best. Aside from, but just watching, like, with Rollins and Kevin Owens, for me, it makes everything worth it. Like, it's not a justification for, like, having bad stuff on, like, aside from the match. But I mean, like, it's still, for me, like, I'm just happy to see that.
Yeah. No, I think so, man. Like, I think the fact that we get those kind of random matches on Raw as well, like, I mean, I think we all knew when Finn Balor and Seth Rollins go at it, or Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens, you go, okay, we're going to get a good match. But you're right, we never would have got that back in the day. So I think in terms from an athletic point of view, it certainly is miles better today than it was. I mean, maybe we're missing the characters a little bit, but then I don't even know what era we're even living in now. I mean,
it's kind of weird,
But you look at someone like No Way Jose, and I mean, he maybe he could have done, maybe they could have done better with him, but I still think that trying to get that across is tough. I really, really do, especially to an audience these days. Because I mean, I think the other thing that we don't talk about enough is that the audience and fan base we have today is super smart. Like, they know everything that's going on. If they don't, all they got to do is type it into Google, and they're going to know in seconds. And that is something that WWE's never had to face before, at least not to this degree.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. I mean, like, when you're not concerned about all of that stuff, what's happening in the background, you can just enjoy it for what it is, instead of like just trying to analyze it and just dissect it into why this happened, what happened, and why WWE is wrong, why creative is wrong, why this. It just kind of like takes the fun out of it for me. Like, it's like, I enjoy learning about background stories and just stuff like that, and background politics and stuff like it's interesting, but I mean, like, I really try to not let it affect my enjoyment of watching the show. I don't know.
No, I think that's my thing as well. I know something that people struggle with now is they feel like spoilers are thrown into their face, and I completely understand that. And unfortunately, the only way to avoid it is to not go on the internet, which is an option. It is an option. I understand it's difficult because it's 2018 and that's the world we live in, but you don't have to go online. I know it's a terrible thing to say. I should be burned at the stake, but you can do. And for me especially, I know when I fell out of love with it, not out of love with it, when I took a break from wrestling, the thing that really got me back in is that yes, I found stuff like the Wrestling Observer and all that kind of stuff, and I was like, you know what, I really enjoy this again because it makes me feel like I'm part of some special club that I'm not supposed to be a part of. And it doesn't matter how old you get, it does sucker you back in. And in terms of the modern day product, I don't know. I find it, while Raw is long and it is too long, I almost feel, and there's good and bads to this, I almost feel like it's easy to watch because they're trying to make sure everybody can enjoy it. And that means the sort of super hot and the super cool things are few and far between. But also, if you are going to watch it every week, it doesn't really, again, aside from the time, there is a big, you have to give up a lot of your time to watch WWE. I understand that. Yeah. But usually, most shows tick along nicely. There's a format. And all that does need to change eventually. It will run its course. But some days, I don't mind it that much. And I actually think, you know what, wrestling, it's all right. It's fine. I can just watch it, enjoy it, and then we can, the real fun is taking your opinions and then sharing them with other people like we're doing now and seeing who thinks what. Like, you've got a real love for Jeff Hardy. For me, Jeff Hardy was always a dude that I enjoyed, but that was about it. And I think that's fascinating because wrestling will tap into these different emotions that we all have, and you just don't know why in many ways, but it does.
Yeah, that's true. But you know what? Jeff Hardy is, even though I love him, he's not my favorite wrestler right now, and like of all time as well. Like right now, my favorite wrestler is Seth Rollins.
Right. That's a great segue right there, man. I mean, Seth Rollins, especially to me, this face run has been the face run for Seth Rollins.
It's been so good. It's been so good.
It kind of sucks that I don't want him to turn heel now, but it kind of sucks that they didn't hold off his heel turn to now, because my word, the impact of that, if done right, could have been awesome. Now I'm still hoping that Dean Ambrose turns heel, not yet, but soon turns heel. But when did Seth Rollins click for you? Because I'm the same with Seth Rollins. I liked him as the cowardly heel, but I was like, he's just a dude. But then the more and more he went on and on, I was like, you know what, he's the man. He's fucking great.
Yeah. Now I told you, I got back into wrestling when CM Punk, did his pipe bomb, but I stopped watching wrestling again when CM Punk left. For a while, but I still kept up with it a little bit, but I didn't watch it regularly. However, when I can't remember which year it happened, the heist of the century, the cash-in at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
What WrestleMania was that?
I was 31.
31? That was
31.
In 2014?
I guess it would have been. Yeah, it was definitely when he cashed in was definitely WrestleMania 31, because I remember, because going into it, everybody was like, it's gonna suck, it's gonna be shit, and then it was one of the best WrestleManias in ages. And Brock versus Roman was actually a really good match as well.
It was, yeah, and that really got me interested in watching wrestling again. Like, I mean, like I would have been interested anyways, but like just watching the very next episode, like I was just so excited about what was going to happen. And I enjoyed him as a cowardly heel and stuff like that. But what really clicked for me was his, just his recent face turn. And like, I love him. And you know what? The reason why I love him so much is because for the last like few months, more often than not, every time he has a match, it's more often than not the best match of the night. Whether it's on Raw, whether it's on like a pay-per-view or whatever, like more often than not, the last few months, like pretty much ever since WrestleMania, he's had one of the best matches or like the best match of the night. And like I just enjoy watching him. Like the crowd is behind, and it's also refreshing to watch a face with the crowd actually behind him. Like compared to Roman Reigns. Yeah. Like you can also get behind it, and like you can buy into it. So it's I just like him, and I love his matches.
I mean, but him and AJ Styles, right? They're the two best. I put Kevin Owens in there as well. I mean, in different ways. But and it's funny that AJ Styles and Seth Rollins are, for my money, the two best workers in WWE because they are the two baby faces that people actually like. I mean, what a world we live in. So, but I agree with you with Seth Rollins. I just think, I mean, he should really be in the Roman Reigns position. And that's probably a conversation that we can have. That kind of ties into the Braun Strowman stuff because, again, if this was any other era or Roman Reigns wasn't around, given how well Seth is in the ring, given the affinity that he has with fans, given that he's been a champion before and did a pretty good job as a heel champ, really, the reason that he's not and he's in the position he's in is because of Roman Reigns. And you could probably go through the card and say that about a lot of people. And I guess when you start looking at it like that, I mean, look, I don't know how Seth Rollins would do on top. It's just a theory. But then I think you can kind of understand why the backlash, why the backlash is there.
I mean, like I also do feel that like a lot of people have been held down because of just the constant. I don't know if it's over pushing or just I don't know at this point. Like it's hard to differentiate between like what pushing is and what over pushing is when it comes to Roman Reigns. But I mean, like just because of the entire attention being on Roman Reigns, a lot of people have been pushed down. I mean, like so many people, man. Like Kevin Owens, Bray Wyatt. I feel. Like he really had potential, when he came out. I really thought that he was going to be like one of the next big things, and but it's been disappointing for the most part, at least for me. And Bray Wyatt, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, even Braun Strowman now, I mean, like it's just I think it's I mean, like is it even worth it? Like at some point, like is it even worth it? Like just I don't know, man. I have mixed feelings about it. Like, what do you think?
With what was that you cut out there? Which bit is that, man?
About like people being pushed down just because WWE wants to keep on pushing Roman Reigns.
Oh, that bit. Sorry, I thought we went to something else. It's difficult because I don't know what would happen. I think the way I take of it is like this: if this had been even 2 years in, I'd be like, okay, you can keep trying. But given that it's been 4, almost 5 years, I think that's when you have to start raising an eyebrow and going, what exactly is happening here? Although I'm actually happy to take it. I'm happy to take it more now because the trigger has been pulled. Roman Reigns is Universal Champion. He finally beat Brock Lesnar. That's dumb. I mean, maybe we'll come back to that down the line, but Brock Lesnar is never going to be, what do you call it? Champion again. I just don't think it. I just don't think it's going to happen. So even if he does come back and feud with someone else, that's fine. It's not gonna, it's not gonna make a difference. So I need to see where we go from now, and if we do get
but I mean for the last for the last few years, like just because they keep on like pushing Roman and giving him opportunity after opportunity, like there's so many other people who could have done so much better, and like they would have been in such a better position than they are now, like Bray Wyatt. Like I don't know if you got that part or it cut out, but I said that when Bray Wyatt came out, I really thought he was going to be one of the next big things. But right now, like for the most part, his run in WWE has been disappointing for me. And even Kevin Owens, Finn Balor, Finn Balor is pretty much just stuck in the mid card and like having like just shit matches with Baron Corbin. I mean, like, come on, man. He deserves better than that. Like, there's just so many people. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's true. I mean, Bray Wyatt's booking was just bad. I mean, the Bray Wyatt character, the rumor is now he's going to get repackaged and come back. Absolutely 100% is what we need to do. There's no two ways about it. He's a lost cause. And I don't mean that horribly. That's no reflection on him. He's just lost every feud he's ever been in. That character has no weight to it because he never backed up anything he said. The best thing we can do is just draw a line under it and say, okay, it was cool for a few years, but now we need something new. Finn Balor is a bit different because I guess he did get injured after winning the Universal title. And
that's true.
My worry about that was always that Vince McMahon would see it and go, oh, he's too small, blah, blah, blah. And that almost, I mean, that it could have been in occasions like that really cemented in his head, yep, Roman is the guy. Look what happened when I went in a different direction. But you are right in what you say. The problem is we just don't know. That's the issue. It's a complete blind spot. And, you know, I don't think anything's going to change till WrestleMania. That's the question I keep asking myself. I mean, if Roman Reigns is going to hold it till WrestleMania 35, 6, whatever the hell's next, I get confused. But
35.
It is 35, yeah. Like, what, like, who is he going to be in the main event again? Is he going to win? Is he going to retain the Universal title again?
Of course he is. But there's absolutely no way Roman Reigns is not going to be in the main event next year.
My problem with that is if we haven't changed, you know, the public's perception by that point, then I don't think anything's going to get worse by this. I think WWE's too big. I think they earn too much money. WWE just is these days. However, I do think there is going to be for many people, I know that tipping point has already happened, but we can't do this forever. Like, again, even Stone Cold Steve Austin was on top. I know that's injuries and stuff, but same with The Rock. You know, they weren't on top forever. Like, at one point, you've got to go, nope, it's done. Nope. So, yeah, I don't know. I like it in a way because it makes WWE interesting from a not experimental point of view, from an investigation point of view. Like, if you treat it like some kind of school essay, there's so many things you can talk about just because it's so weird, but that doesn't necessarily make for a good TV project. I mean, on this as well, though, if we switch over to SmackDown quickly, so I know this has been controversial too. What do you think about everything they do with Becky Lynch and Charlotte? Because personally, I really like it. Like, I think it's, I like, so far I've loved every single skit and promo they've done. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I'm very, very invested in that feud, I completely agree with you. I have the same feelings about it. I've loved everything they've done. I didn't like the week before, the SmackDown of last week, I think, the one after SummerSlam. Yeah, she was going on about why she did what she did, and, you know, she was kind of like shitting on the fans a bit. I didn't like that.
No, I agree. We didn't need that. We didn't need it. It's not true. It's categorically not true.
I don't know if you know about this, but that, you know, the clip of that segment on YouTube, on WWE's YouTube channel, they've left out every single line she had about like anything to do with the fans or anything. So it was only about, you know, like and this week's SmackDown, she was just, you know, like, she didn't like shit on the fans. She was just like upset at Charlotte, and they let. Like, they let the viewers see that the crowd was behind her. They didn't, like, mute them or anything. So, like, I think that, like, WWE's kind of, like, admitted their mistake a bit. You know, like, they understood that they went a bit wrong by turning Becky, like, heel. So now they're just going to turn her, like, you know, like a no-nonsense Irish ass kicker. I don't know. But yeah.
I'm up for that, though, man. Like, there's nothing wrong with that because there's no two ways about it. This version of Becky Lynch is the best version I've ever seen on WWE TV. On top of that, her promos are even better than ever. And now she's got an edge. And you know why Stone Cold Steve Austin was great? Edge. You know why The Rock was great? They had edge. I don't mean edge. I mean edge. But I mean, I don't agree with. I've seen a lot of people going, "Oh, she's the female Stone Cold Steve Austin." No, she's not. No. Let's not. Don't do that to her. That's actually going to hurt her more than more than anything else. Like, don't bury her in that sense. I don't compare people to the best. Like, she could be the best in her own way, but that was the problem with Roman.
Not at this stage. At this stage.
I know we keep going back to Roman Reigns, but that was the problem with Roman Reigns, wasn't it? It was like...
He was the next John Cena.
Exactly. Oh, he's got to be the next John Cena. No, he doesn't. Don't do that to the poor guy. Let him be the first Roman Reigns and all of that bollocks. So, I mean, but I honestly, it's my favourite feud in WWE right now. And also, really, I was thinking about this, and I could be wrong. I mean, this is just off the top of my head. it could be the best women's feud that WWE has ever done. I know Mickie James and Trish Stratus was good, but in terms of a storyline that feels like it is just a good storyline as opposed to it's a good women's storyline, which I hate. It should just be treated the same. Yeah. I really do think, I really do think that it's, I don't know, there's something about it. I think if they do it well and they have well-booked matches and it goes, I just think it's going to be great. I really, really have I'm excited about this.
I mean, like, I'm trying to think of any other, like, women feuds, if that's not the right terminology.
I know what you mean,
yeah. But, like, I'm trying to think of any other women feuds which are, like even match up to this, but I can't really think of any. Not
in recent times. And certainly not since we've been doing... the whole women's revolution, evolution, whatever. What do you think about all that? What are you excited about Evolution? I mean, what's your take on it?
I am excited about it. It's pretty cool, but it's just the constant, just the constant reminders of like, just okay, we get it, it's gonna happen, and it's just I don't understand why they can't treat the women wrestlers just like the male wrestlers. Like why do you have to announce the women's division like this, and just make a big deal out of it? I mean, like if you really want them to feel like as the same level as the men, then just treat them equally, treat them the same way that you treat the men. And I mean, like and the entire stuff with like the Bella twins being like these pioneers of whatever, man, women's revolution. Like, okay, like I don't mind them, but I mean, like, come on, like, I can deal with WWE's revisionist history, but I mean, like, only to an extent, Like, I mean, like, but I am very excited about it. I think they're going to be pretty good matches. Some matches, like I'm excited for Trish versus Alexa. And what other matches have been announced? Are they going with Ronda versus Nikki? Is that official?
That's the rumor. My only problem with Ronda versus Nikki is I just don't know who wants to see it. I don't mind Ronda. I don't mind Ronda versus Nikki if I think there's an audience for it. But as far as I can tell, there is no audience for it. So that's why I don't really understand who's it for. And I think there's other people that we could do.
Yeah, I'm not interested in Ronda versus Nikki. Definitely not. No, I'm not interested in it. And there's just so many other good female wrestlers that you can do stuff with. I mean, like, why do you have to do that? I mean, like, where the hell is Asuka, man? Like, she's so good. She's always been so good, and she's like, we haven't even seen her for the last few weeks. Like, it's just so frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, Trish Stratus versus Alexa Bliss, I think, is good. I know a lot of people said that they'd rather have seen Alexa Bliss, Mickie James versus Trish Stratus, but I disagree. I think if you get, this is a dream match, right, quote unquote. So I'd much rather. I think I'd much rather that. I think it makes the event more interesting. Well, at least it does for me anyway. I don't have a problem with that at all. I know a lot of people are like, we should see. We've seen it. I don't think we need to go back and see it again. And I actually think that it's building up to be pretty decent, that show. I hope that they treat it like they're saying they're going to treat it. I hope they do, no pun intended, go all in with it. And I hope it sets up something, good for the future. Because if we start doing more stuff like, Becky versus Charlotte, then I think, that's finally what, it should be. And I think that's far more exciting world that we live in terms of wrestling.
I'm really afraid that Evolution is going to start with like a 5-minute speech from Stephanie McMahon with all the female roster just around the ring.
It will. It will do. That's 100% going to happen. So you better get ready for that. Oh, dear. Right, so before we wrap up, man, is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to touch on?
Not really. I mean, I just I don't have like any questions or anything. Like I just enjoy talking about wrestling whenever I can, so I'm good.
Hell yeah, man. Well, what I want to do is I thought about this the other day. I want to start doing this to everybody simply because of what happened the other day, and it brought up some really interesting stuff. I want to do a quick fire round, basically, where I'm going to say a name to you, and you tell me the first thought that comes into your head, and we'll see where we go with it.
Oh God!
Right, but no, you just don't rush. I'm just intrigued. They're just things that came to the top of my head, and I want to see. It was all based on chats I've had with other people, and everyone seems to have a different opinion. So
is it related to wrestling?
Absolutely, yeah. Oh yeah, imagine it wasn't. Okay. Imagine like I said, butterflies. You'd be like, I don't know. Bret Hart. Right. Bret Hart.
Hitman.
That works. Shawn Michaels.
Shit. Oh, sorry. HBK. I was going to say HBK first, but I was like, that's probably a bit too, I don't know, like just obvious. But that was the first thing that came to my mind, yeah.
That's fine. Montreal Screwjob. What did you think when you come back to that? Because you've got to go back in time and find out about all this bullshit.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like, it's for me, it's really interesting because I'm not like caught up in it, you know, like as in like I'm not like emotionally invested in it, so I can like look at it analytically and see what happened, why it happened, like see the behind the scenes as to like what are the things, what are the incidents which led to that happening. So yeah, I was very interested in that, but of course, I mean, like it was a bad thing to do, I guess, like, you know, morally, I don't know. But especially, you know, was it in Canada? Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, it probably wasn't a good thing to do, but I mean, like, didn't that give us heel Vince McMahon? Yeah,
pretty much.
It did. Yeah, so I mean, like, if you didn't have that, you probably wouldn't have, you know, like Stone Cold be who he was. So I mean, like, you know, yeah, I guess there's, I don't know, like, that's why I said, you know, like, I don't really care about it too much, I guess.
It's overplayed. It's overplayed to this point. There's no two ways about it. It's just one of those things that it will always exist, but yeah, it will always be nuts. Right. Ric Flair.
Woo!
Vince McMahon.
Oh, you're fired.
I like this. Now it's just become impressions. I like this. This is good. Chair shots to the head.
Ouch.
Would you ever take a chair shot to the head now, knowing what we know?
No. Definitely
not. I go back and watch Attitude Era stuff, and I'm like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Man. What are we doing? Goldberg.
Pretty good.
Nice.
Like, I really couldn't think about anything else anyways. Yeah, go on.
Did you meet Goldberg WWE before you met Goldberg WCW?
I actually only saw No, I had no idea about Goldberg in WCW. No.
That's amazing. That's incredible. I love that. I think it's brilliant. Brock Lesnar.
Amazing.
Nice. Yes. You and me, Uday. I love Brock Lesnar. The Young Bucks.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Eric Bischoff.
I mean, just
Don't let him hear you say that. It'd be mad. WWE Network.
$9.99.
Nice. There you go. Oh, man, you're well in. You're going to get a job with WWE. I'm just intrigued. I'm going to do that with everybody now to see what they come up with. Right, Uday, we are coming up to the hour mark, so I just want to say thank you very much. That was awesome, dude. I love these chats. They're just the best. Thank you for bringing your unique perspective on professional wrestling to Simon's Pro Wrestling Podcast. I hope you enjoy All In. Just a quick finisher, did you like SummerSlam this year? Did you think it hit all the high notes?
I really liked it. I think it was one of the best SummerSlams I've ever seen.
I honestly, man, I think it's maybe I wouldn't put it up there that high, but I'd certainly say it was one of the best SummerSlams I've seen in a very long time.
It's just because I haven't seen as many SummerSlams as you have.
No, of course, man, absolutely, of course. But no, I thought it was really, really fun, and I thought they took a 5-hour show and made it very watchable.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah,
I did too. So we'll see. Like WrestleMania too long, SummerSlam hit the nail on the head. What do you do? What do I know? But yeah, dude, thank you so much. Again, it is all supported by patreon.com/Simon316. So please do head on over there if you want to be on the podcast, or if you just like to support this in any way that you can. I'd really appreciate it. It would also be up on youtube.com/The Miller Report Rules. I'm on Twitter at Simon316 and Instagram at Simon316. Uday, do you have any social media you want to put and pimp out there?
I do, but I'm good. I'm all right.
All right, well, there you go. That's good. There's nothing wrong with that. What else do I pimp? If you're on iTunes, give us 5 stars, give us a review, and go share it with a friend, go share it with everybody, and just keep enjoying pro wrestling. What does the weekend hold for you, pro wrestling wise, Uday?
The weekend? Isn't All In this weekend?
It is. Yeah, it is. Are you going to watch any of the StarCast stuff, or are you just going to watch the show itself?
Oh, I'm definitely going to watch the show. I'll see if I'll watch StarCast. I don't know where I saw it. Was it your video? I don't know which video was it, but I heard you talking about it somewhere. But yeah, I mean, I'll try to find the video again and watch it. And yeah, if I'm interested in it, I'll definitely watch it.
Well, there we go. We'll have to get you back on to see what you thought about it then as well. Right, everybody listening, make sure you check out All In. Support it as best you can, even if it's just by talking about it on social media. Every little helps. And as always, I'll keep you updated as best I can as I'm in Chicago. But thank you for listening. Thank you for letting me into your life, and I will chat to you again very soon.